1. B. Colorful confusions. I almost didn't make it. Doctors urged Mama to abort, saying she was 33, hadn't given birth in a dozen years, and suffered from high blood pressure. But Mama wasn't intimidated by doctors. She wanted more information, so she went to the library, and when she couldn't find documented proof linking high blood pressure to birth defects, she went ahead. Thank you, Mama. Funny thing is that Mama arrived at the maternity ward just about the time her daughter Geraldine was leaving. A week earlier, Jerry had given birth to her first son, Tyrone. Because Jerry was only 16 and already had a daughter, Sylvia, Mama found a home for Tyrone in the family. He went to live with Uncle Dewey and Aunt Marguerite, who were childless in Chicago. Jerry's next child, another boy, born on the heels of Tyrone, was also adopted, this time by foster parents. Jerry's husband, Bill, was sick. They were being supported, in part, by the state and had no choice. Later, though, Bill and Jerry would have another 7 kids who they kept and raised. My own birth made minor social history. See, back then they were still segregating infants in northern hospitals and spotting my pale blonde fuzz, blue eyes, and fair complexion. They classified me as white. Can you imagine the stupidity of segregating little babies? Meanwhile, Daddy was going nuts because he couldn't find me in the black nursery, and the nurses, black and white, were giggling behind Mama's back, figuring that this black woman had just given birth to a white baby. But then 5 arrived, and seeing how William Robinson Sr. and Jr. had the same face, down to the bags under their eyes, those wise-ass nurses had to shut up. Ever since I can remember, Flossie and 5 were fighting. Now you'd think that'd disturb me deeply, but I don't believe it did. Even though Daddy moved out when I was 3, my parents handled it with such wisdom, carefully covering me with such love, that I survived their divorce with few scars. You didn't break our marriage, Daddy would remind me, so don't try and fix it. He made sure I didn't take the blame. The problem between her and me, and the foolish things we did, I wrote 30 years later. Inserting this theme in a song haven't got a thing to do with the love between me and my kids. Your father drinks, your father's crazy, but he loves you mightily, Mama would say. Flossie's always on my case, claimed 5. I can't get along with that woman, no way, but that doesn't mean she's not a fine mother. Boy, she loves you like nothing else in this world. Even after their divorce, they supported each other when it came to me. Mama would take me to the corner at the end of the block, where I'd wait for Daddy to pick me up. He couldn't come on our street, 'cause Mama took out a peace bond against him. She did that, I believe, not out of fear, but to punish him. Yet for all her anger, she never tried to keep him out of my life, and he remained there, as did she, for as long as they lived. Why didn't they get along? He's too extravagant, Mama might say. She's too bossy, Daddy would declare. In truth, Flossie could be overbearing. She was also too intellectual for 5. Daddy wasn't dumb, far from it, but his learning was limited, while Mama never stopped seeking knowledge. Their marriage was a mismatch, and even though I was in the middle, I was always at the receiving end of their devotion. I never lacked for love. Colorful language was an early stimulation for me. I was verbal from the get-go. By age 1, I was talking. Walking came later, but I made do. When I was still in a walker, Mama would send me to Mr. Henry's corner store to buy her cigarettes. If there was any change, she let me use it for ice cream. First time there wasn't any change, I was slick enough to convince Mr. Henry to run a tab. Little by little, my little bill got bigger. What is this? Mama wanted to know when Mr. Henry finally told her what she owed. Junior said it was all right. Junior? Henry, don't tell me you're taking orders from a baby boy. That baby boy's pretty convincing, Flossie. You try to resist him. Mama tried, and Mama succeeded. Mama was plenty strict, but also plenty wise. With the right messages, Mama was always on time, and spoke in rhyme. If I only half-cleaned my room, I'd hear, "Once a task is begun, don't leave until that task is done. Whether your job's big or small, do it well or not at all. From the time you're born till you ride the hearse, nothing's so bad that couldn't be worse," she said, comforting me in her arms after I'd been hit on the head with a horseshoe and thought the throbbing pain would never stop. Once I was screaming for a toy I couldn't have. Man, I was carrying on something fierce before Mama ran down the story about the shoeless dude who felt bad till he met the man who had no feet. That one stuck with me for life. Mama taught in proverbs, parables, and poetry. Her language was light-hearted and fun. She painted pictures with words. Both my parents were storytellers, tireless talkers, and it's no wonder I turned out a writer. For the first 10 years of my life, I was a happy kid, wildly in love with anything to do with cowboys and music. Strange combination? Maybe so, but that was me. I loved the Cowboys, and I even loved their sidekicks, Hopalong Cassidy and Lucky, Roy Rogers and Gabby Hayes, the Lone Ranger and Tonto, the Cisco Kid and Poncho. These were my heroes. I had my hats, my toy guns, my cowboy boots, and soon, thanks to my Uncle Claude, I had my name, Smokey Joe. Claude was Pop's pal and a second father to me. He'd married Beulah, a gorgeous half-white woman who was closer to me than any aunt. They were my godparents. In fact, I lived with them a while, just after I was born, when Flossie and Five were both in the hospital, having appendectomies at the same time. Once when I was 6 or 7, Uncle Claude took me to a matinee, a cowboy movie, of course, and asked afterwards, "How'd you like the picture, Smokey Joe?" "Smokey Joe?" I asked. "Yeah, ain't you Smokey Joe?" "Yup, that's me." Man, I liked that a whole lot more than being called William or Junior. Later I learned Uncle Claude was being ironic. Dark-skinned blacks were sometimes called smoky. I still had blonde hair and blue eyes and was anything but smoky. "I'm doing this," he was saying, "so you won't ever forget that you're black." Back in my little boy mind, though, color wasn't the issue. Cowboys were. Believe me, I was a bad hombre. I had me a cowboy talk, howdy partners, and a cowboy walk, my knees slightly bent, heels turned over, thumbs hooked inside my genuine Red Ryder belt. "Just call me Smokey Joe. I'm calling you crazy," said Sister Rosella, who liked to taunt me. "And I'm calling you Rosarellis," I teased her back. "And I'm calling you Junior like I always do," said Mama, who stuck to her word. Home. We lived in a house on Belmont Street, one of those two-story jobs that was plenty big. This was on the north end of Detroit, an old Jewish neighborhood, turning black. When Flossie and Five bought our home, the area was nice, several cuts above the raw ghetto. When Flossie and Five divorced, Mama kept the property. Jerry had a family of her own, and when Rose Ella was 18 and I was 4, she also left. That meant Mama and I were alone. The upstairs flat was rented out to the Cook family. In our part, 3 bedrooms were occupied by boarders, the 4th shared by me and Mama. I felt like an only child, got loads of attention. Flossie had some boyfriends, chiefly a tall, thin dude called Bones, but Bones didn't bother me. I was Mama's main man, and she lavished love on me like no one else. She also whipped my ass nearly every day. Wasn't her fault. I needed it. Couldn't stay out of mischief. "Don't be climbing over that picket fence, Junior," she'd warn, and sure enough, the next minute I'd be jumping the fence, paying her no never mind. One day, I remember, I was jumping when my pants leg caught on a picket. I wound up hanging upside down, crying for Mama to free me. Here she comes, running out of the house, scared to death, thinking I've been bit by a snake or struck by lightning. "What in heavens is wrong, Junior?" She sees my predicament, though, and just like that, her tone changes. She calms down and studies the situation, while I'm still twisting and screaming for help. So, she says ever so slowly, "You tried to jump the fence." "Just get me down," I'm crying. "Please let me down, Mama." "Didn't I tell you not to jump that fence?" "Yeah, Mama, you told me, and I'm sorry, but I gotta get down. Just get me down." "I'm not sure what I'm going to do about this," she says, deliberating like a judge. I'm still pleading and crying, "Get me down, let me down," when Mama finally renders her verdict. "I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk to the side of the house and find me a switch, a great big switch. Don't move now, Junior, 'cause I'm coming back, and when I do, I'm gonna whip your ass good." And believe me, she did. Daddy whipped me only once. After I'd seen a Tarzan movie, I was so excited that me and a buddy started wrestling with butcher knives. I fell and sliced my elbow on a rock. Daddy spanked me good, not for wrestling, but for playing with knives, and then rushed me to the hospital for stitches. Both my parents were powerful protectors. Mama was especially watchful over me, yet ever since my birth, she was never completely well. High blood pressure plagued her. She was a heavy woman, maybe 200 pounds, and also smoked. In those days, few folk knew the damage cigarettes were doing. She was often tired, needed lots of rest, and sometimes got so sick I'd be scared. Despite everything, though, Mama drudged on. For a while, she was a maid at the Leland Hotel. I'd tag along and help, sticking mountains of sheets and pillowcases in the big laundry basket. Mama also sold corn whiskey to neighbors, right out of our house. Our home was always filled with what we called niggerkin, friends close enough to be family. There was also another cast of characters, an endless parade of people passing through our house, folks Mama might be trying to help, junkies, whores, drunks. The junkies would be scratching themselves and nodding out, the whores would be strutting, but the drunks were the most pitiful, peeing on themselves, talking to folks who weren't there, and looking to fight. It was wild. Down at Papa's place, the Pin Boys gave me another view of things, raw and funny. Cats like Shorty and Hamp, who looked like an old prizefighter with a smashed-in nose and cuts all up his cheeks, were part of my life until they died. At the same time, my upbringing was righteous. Mama was a churchgoer, a choir member. She'd be there Sunday and during the week as well. Naturally, she dragged me along. Although as a child I felt close to God, God gave me a warm glow, a feeling of faith. I didn't dig church. In Mama's Baptist sanctuary, the sisters were fired up, shouting and shivering with such spirit that I grew frightened. Religion ran all over our neighborhood, coming at me in strange and unexpected ways. For instance, picture Detroit in the winter of 1946, snows falling from a pale pearl gray sky, a bitter wind's blowing, and everywhere you look, Packards and Studebakers are slowly crunching down the slushy streets. That's 6-year-old me, oblivious to the weather, skipping along, going to play with my pal Richard Ross, who lives on Boston Boulevard, just a block over from Belmont. Hey, Rich. Hi, Smoke. Who's this guy? Cecil. Where you from, Cecil? Just moved from Buffalo. Let's go play in the rabbit field, Rich suggests. The three of us hop over to Oakland Avenue, where we run round a vacant lot overgrown with weeds. Want to see my new house? Asks Cecil. Why not? That's it. He points to a beautiful mansion next to the field. Come on in. I approach the huge house hesitantly. Once inside, I'm awestruck. Oil paintings, velvet tapestries, silk curtains, mahogany cabinets filled with ornate objects of silver and gold. Man, I've never seen nothing like this before. We tiptoe down a long hallway, following the haunting strains of beautiful piano music. Who's playing? We poke our heads into the music room, and I'm amazed. Seated behind the baby grand is a baby herself, singing like an angel. That's my sister Aretha, says Cecil Franklin. What does your father do? I ask. Preach. His daddy's Reverend C.L. Franklin, Rich remarks. He's famous. Aretha's only 3, and with her are her sisters, 8-year-old Irma and baby Carolyn. That's how I met the Franklin family. Cecil's been my buddy all my life. So has Aretha. I fell in love with her when she was 7, but that's another story. The story of my home life should be viewed like a musical. The sounds of music, dance music, jazz music, gospel music, wafted through our house, mingling with the sweet fragrances from Mama's kitchen. The Victrola never stopped cooking. We had Sarah Vaughan for breakfast and rib roast for dinner, Nat Cole for lunch and fried chicken for supper. Billie Holiday and Billy Eckstine might be stewing all day long. The music Mama loved best, big bands, blues belters, was always simmering. Mama also loved spirituals. I knew the sightless soul of the 5 Blind Boys, the tight harmonies of the Mighty Clouds of Joy, the virtuosity of the violin airs. Over at Reverend Franklin's, playing with Cecil or flirting with Aretha, I might actually hear Clara Ward herself singing in their kitchen. My own debut performance took place between Detroit and Memphis at age 3. World War II was happening, and the train was jammed with soldiers. Me and Mom were on our way to visit Grandma. I was an outgoing little guy, strolling up and down the aisles, singing to myself. The army cats thought I was cute. They'd give me oranges and apples, picking me up on their laps, saying, "This is my man. Sing, little buddy," someone requested. That's all I needed to hear. Jelly, 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 I sang in my squeaky-voiced approximation of Billy Eckstine. Jelly stays on my mind, drove my mama crazy, drove my daddy stone blind. Cats cracked up. Mama was embarrassed. What you doing, Junior, singing that song? We like the way he sings, said the soldiers. But by then, Mama was hurrying me back to my seat. Hurry, Mama, I begged her when I saw these kids on stage trying to sing. I want to go up there. We were at the Michigan State Fair, and I wasn't any older than 6. What you need to go up there for, Junior? 'Cause I want to sing. Well, if you want to sing that bad, I do. And I did. Sang Ragtime Cowboy Joe until the folks cheered so loud I got scared. But I loved it, and so did Mama. Afterwards, we learned a man had made a record of it, and don't you know that Mama took that record home and proudly played it over the phone for everyone she knew. Since that time, she encouraged me, seeing how I'd wake up singing every morning, making up melodies at night, scribbling down little lyrics. I loved lyrics. I loved looking to see who wrote songs. I also loved Your Hit Parade TV show. Couldn't wait till it came on. I liked the singers, Snooky Lanson, Giselle McKenzie, and Dorothy Collins. I'd sit in front of the tube with my Hit Parade magazine, following all the words. Fascinated me to watch the way they turned the tunes into little plays. I also loved seeing the songs fighting each other for the #1 spot. Early on, starting with cowboy tunes, my musical taste was wide. One of my favorite songs in life, for example, was K-Star spinning that Wheel of Fortune. When Daddy and I went fishing in Canada, I'd play it on the jukebox so many times they'd throw us out of the restaurant. Mama had an old upright at home, and I'd be banging it, figuring out simple melodies and chord combinations. Didn't know what I was doing, even though I was doing then what I do now, looking for ways to express myself. As a kid, though, my favorite expressions were still those spoken by the cowboys, my mumble-mouthed heroes. My Western obsession grew until I was telling everyone that when I grew up, I was going to be a cowboy. Mama, who planned for me to be an educated professional, started worrying. Then she got an idea.